Hello, Beauty News family. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. We're back and we're going to be talking about makeup trends, beauty trends, predictions of 2025. This year, we actually asked on a live chat later last year what you guys thought would be some trend predictions, and we're going to discuss those. And we've also got a couple that we feel might be trends for 2025.
Surprisingly, we're not actually going to be mentioning, and I don't think many people mentioned the blush trend continuing, even though I am currently wearing 3 different types of blushes, but that's because I was playing around trying to figure out what to put in my project pan. So ignore this extreme situation. Blushes are touched on, but I think people are getting the vibe that the blush train is sort of it's slowing down. It's slowing down a little bit.
I do think it's possible that we will see more blush releases from brands in 2025, but I think they might be a little bit different. That's just my theory.
Yeah, the theory that some of the audience has, and I like where they're going with this. One was bronzers. So these are blush bronzer sort of hybrid products. I know that Bare Minerals brought out these, I think it was about a year or two ago, also with like the latest Huda releases where she's got like liquid, they're like bronzy toned blushes, so you can use them as bronzers and blushes combined. So we are starting to see this. I think this hybrid worked quite well with highlighters and blushes, so it makes sense that this sort of more bronzy toned blush is sort of coming in. I think it also works really well because, I don't know about you, but most people these days, the trend isn't really wearing a full face of makeup. It's like, how do I get a good effect with least possible products? And I feel like combining, I think is really cool. I want to see more blush, bronzer, highlighter products in one. That's what I'd personally like to see. Because if I can have all of it in one product, that's what I'm wearing every day.
Like a glowy bronzer would be perfect. I definitely think that like less is more and like simplifying things. I think it's been a trend for a while now, and I think it will continue. I don't think everyone's into that though. I don't want to make it out like everyone's doing the same thing, because they never have and they never will in the beauty sphere. But I definitely agree that bronzers could be like the next realistic sort of iteration of blushes. We did also have a suggestion that toned down blush might be the next big thing, which would basically mean really like low saturation pigment blushes. And I think we haven't really seen that for a long time, if ever, to be honest. I feel like when it comes to blush, a lot of them are super, super pigmented. They're very rich in color, whether they be liquids or powders. So I guess we could see a trend towards that. I think it would be an interesting way to go. And it might fit with sort of the current climate of people going down that less is more route. I don't know.
I do think though that the next iteration from the blush trend, and I know we've said this before in beauty news, is highlighters. I think highlighters are coming back, but in a more sort of elevated way. I think like my favorite cheek look of 2024 was in Bridgerton. So the Francesca from Bridgerton blush thing, like that was blush goals in my opinion, and I would love to see more of that highlighter sort of on the cheek. Like I just think that that's beautiful, and I feel like that is such an elevated version of highlighting versus what we've seen in the past, which was that strip of like metallic garbage on your face.
Absolutely.
So I think highlighting is going to be coming back in a big way, especially since, this is another one that a lot of people suggested, sort of frosty, sparkly things are coming back, and I 100% agree. We've seen that in eyeshadows, we've seen that in a whole bunch of things, in lip products, lip toppers, sparkly things are coming back, or frosty things, and I feel like that is just sort of where I feel like cheeks are going to be going. Personally, that's what I think.
I actually really agree with you. I think if there's going to be any big trend with cheek or coloured face products this year, it's going to be highlighters. That's actually where I would put my money. I do also think that there's going to be more interesting coloured blushes, yellows, oranges, lilacs. In K-Beauty, we've seen some blue blushes, which is really interesting. Whether they will go mainstream, I don't know. If they do, it might take a while for brands to like, you know, catch up to it. So it may not even be a 2025 thing. But I agree with Kat, highlighters. I think that's where it's going to go. I don't know that there's a whole lot that they can do with bronzers that's going to make any great big deal to the industry. But highlighters have actually been out if like mainstream popularity for a long time. There's obviously a few that have sort of withstood the test of time, but the highlighter boom of like 2016, 2017, I feel like it's been long enough, and if any brands are going to pick up on something, I reckon it's going to be highlighters, and I reckon they're going to be gorgeous, not what we're used to. Very refined, glowy, beautiful blushes. Highlighters. That's where I would, if I was going to bet on it, that's where I'd put my money.
I do agree with you because, like you said, when the blush trend was huge originally, as in like in this sort of social media beauty community sort of era, it was different formulas. Like they have improved the formulas of highlighters and pigments and everything so much in the past 10 years that it is now time for highlighters to come back, and even like using them as blush toppers, so similar to that Francesca sort of look where you're not just using it on the high points, you're actually using it to make your face glow. It ties in with the things like the glass skin, where people were focusing more on skincare to make you look very glassy, but highlighters can do it too. I think it's a gorgeous look, and I do also agree with you that bronzers had their time fairly recently. Think back to just before the blush hype. It was cream and stick and putty bronzers. So they had their renaissance since the sort of contouring time of even before highlighters were popular, those contour kits. So bronzers came back in more of a cream, mousse, putty sort of format. And now blushes are huge. And I think highlighters are definitely going to be the ones to come up next. But I also agree that like lilac blushes, even though we saw the drama of lilac blushes last year, I think there's going to be a lot of brands that had them in the works prior to that drama, and they're just going to release it because it's part of their release strategy. So I think that we're going to see lilac blushes for sure.
I think we'll also see a lot of brands looking at what happened with, I think it was YSL, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And I think they will see what happened there, and they'll be going, we can do this better. Like, let's just not, you know, let's not gaslight people into thinking that everything is for everyone. Let's target this at the audience that it is specifically designed for. And I think if YSL had just done that, it would have been a fantastic launch. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in regards to frosty makeup, like frosty 2000s makeup, I feel like that's been happening for a while now. And I do think that we are going to see more of it because people are asking for cooler toned makeup and people are asking for like sparkly, shimmery makeup. So obviously it's going to, they come like, if you cross those over, it's frosty makeup. But I'm hoping, again, with the more refined, sort of reflective, finely milled, beautiful, shimmery formulas rather than that sort of what looked like powdery, frosty, sort of silvery makeup. I feel like it's going to be done in a more elevated way. That's my hope anyway.
I think it has to be, because if you look back at, you know, the frosty early 2000s makeup, it never looked good. We thought it did, but it doesn't. And I don't think that we want to like go back there. I think it can be refined. But another thing that I feel really supports that like theory that we might be seeing that is also single like sparkly eyeshadows. So Urban Decay Moondust formula in Space Cowboy had a massive resurgence. I feel like it was in 2024. Or was it technically 2023 and it just
It was probably
like,
technically
carried through?
2023, but continued on, yeah.
And it carried through. The thing about that Moondust formula is it's been popular since like 2015 or 16 or whenever it come out. And they even, like, they've made palettes out of it, all sorts of stuff. And I think that sort of beautiful, like, natural looking, like, base color, I suppose, with a beautiful, like, twinkly light reflect on the eye is flattering on everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's
100% agree.
stunning. It's
my so
absolute
good.
It's my favorite eyeshadow look at the moment, and to be fair, probably has been for years, but we don't see a whole lot of those formulas. We did see with Patrick Tar, he brought out his duos in 2024, and there's been some
Elf
good
brought
reviews
out
and
some.
bad reviews. Oh yeah, Elf did, that's
Yeah.
right. But what I personally think is that the Moondust formula from Urban Decay, specifically Space Cowboy, and there are others that are twinkly as well, that formula is like up here, and the others are like, you know, they're like, you know, you have to be in the right lighting to see the effect of it. Whereas Space Cowboy is Space Cowboy, and it's always doing its pretty thing.
I do agree. I think what I like about Space Cowboy and that formula in particular is that as you age and as you get like crepiness or texture, it sort of it doesn't emphasize it. Whereas if you look at metallics or multichromes or anything that's a high shine, it really emphasizes that sort of texture. Whereas this is a formula that you could be 16, you could be 60, and you can still wear. So I think it is one that I agree a lot of brands are going to see that and go, how do we reverse engineer it and make our own? We started seeing it towards the end of 2024, and I think we're just going to see it for the next couple of years, and it's going to be a trend that even though there's obviously going to be brands that bring out your standard shimmers, there's going to be indie brands that make, you know, beautiful metallics and whatnot, and really like densely packed shimmers. I think people are going to step back a little bit and go, hang on, I want something like a shimmer that I can wear easily to the office and it not look like it's out of place. And I feel like, and also it's a one and done eyeshadow in the Space Cowboy instance anyway. So again, it's that ease factor. If you can use it every day really easily, why wouldn't you want more of it? So I think
that's right.
That is definitely a specific trend that we're going to start seeing more brands bring out for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of more sparkly things, something kind of weird that we saw in 2024 was sparkly mascara. And I don't think that this is actually going anywhere. I think we are going to see a resurgence of coloured mascara as well. This was something that was suggested in the live chat, and I have to agree with them. I feel like these, well, sparkly mascara is completely new, I feel. Is it, Kat, or can you remember a glitter mascara from the past?
I'm sure there's glitter mascaras that have been out, but I feel like it hasn't come from brands like Maybelline. It hasn't been so easily available that you can just go down to the shops and pick up a sparkly mascara. I don't recall that.
Look, when it comes to these kind of products, coloured mascara, I'm all for it, but I really need brands to get their shit together and make actually good formulas. Formulas that lengthen, add volume, hold curl, anything, not just colourful paint for your lashes. And as for sparkly mascara, no ma'am, you can keep it. It looks like something's wrong.
Look, I agree with you. I'm not planning on buying a sparkly mascara anytime soon. However, I do see how they would sell, and I can imagine instances think of like multicolored glitter mascaras for Pride Month, or like there's occasions where I think it could be really cool. Yeah, and I think it is kind of creative, and I can see this going, like, I agree with you. I think coloured mascaras are going to be coming back. I do also agree that all of them that I've used, they've made my lashes look like short and stubby and boring. If I could find like a cobalt blue mascara that actually makes my lashes look long and good, I will wear that to the shops.
Yeah,
I will wear
I
the
agree.
heck out of it. But I'm also seeing, and this might be a bit beyond 2025, but I'm also thinking like people putting metallic pigment, multi-chrome pigment in mascaras. I can imagine this going into interesting places. But if they
Absolutely.
perform badly,
Yep.
they'll just sit in the back of someone's drawer and they will dry out. So it could be a really cool avenue,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if it's going to stick around for very long. But I do think we'll see more of it. I also predicted we're going to see more multi-chrome and interesting liners from like mainstream brands. I know that I think it might have even been Maybelline bringing out multi-chrome eyeliners. I know Colourpop did it. So we saw them from more indie brands a few years ago, but then multi-chrome eyeliners have become a little bit more mainstream and easier to access. And I think that's going to continue as well in 2025 and even 2026.
Yeah, I definitely think in terms of like liners and mascaras, the sky's the limit. There's a lot brands can do that they haven't really touched on. And I definitely don't think they're not going to be for everyone when it comes to everyday use, but when you're going to like a festival, a concert, things like that, I can see why people would want them.
I would love like a confetti coloured, like multicolored, really densely packed eyeliner. Like I know we've seen liquid eyeliners, like colourful, like even Urban Decay did them, like Space Cowboy, that was an eyeliner, a sparkly like liquid. I'm talking about pencil liners. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But we've seen
But also
liquids
bold.
for a while.
Like bold.
Yeah.
A lot of those like glitter and sparkly
Yeah, they're very
eyeliners,
sparse.
they're like sheer. And you have to, if you want it intense, like you're going to need an hour to apply 10 layers.
And then it peels off and it gets all cracked and gross.
That's right. Like, yeah, I just feel like they need to go back to the drawing board on formulas with stuff like that, but really the sky is the limit. Like if you can work out a fantastic glitter formula, like liquid liner or pencil liner, imagine all the colors of the rainbow. Come on.
Yeah, I agree. Another sparkly thing that people have mentioned, and I didn't really think much about this, but apparently it's a thing, coloured freckles and glitter freckles. Now, apparently Taylor Swift did the glitter freckles and a few people have been copying. I'm not planning on rocking that to the shops, but you do you. But we are seeing brands bring out different coloured sort of freckle products. They're called eyeliners. Just buy an eyeliner and just draw it on. But, you know, we're seeing more freckle things. We even saw, what was the brand that brought out was it Tarte that brought out like the 3-prong or the 4-prong?
Yes.
Thing.
Yeah, the multi-spot freckle pen. Yeah, it was Tarte. Look, Kat and I have spoken about this before. The fake freckle world is not for us, but we understand that it is for people. Now, when it comes to glitter freckles, clearly Taylor Swift has a lot of influence. I don't know if it's going to become super mainstream. I think like people will wear it to her concerts, but I don't, and again, maybe like when they're going to festivals or like special events, but I don't think we're going to see this on someone when we're just like out and about shopping on a weekend. I don't think anyone's ever going to pan a glitter freckle product if they come to market. I don't know how they created it. I don't think, I would assume that it's just like a metallic gold like eyeliner or something like that.
Or that they put like lash glue and then like dotted glitter or something.
Actually,
that's like that.
Yeah, that's very possible. So yeah, as for coloured freckles, again, I don't know. I mean, if you want to wear purple freckles, go for it. Cosplay.
Yeah, you can do it. But again, I don't think it's going to be seen everywhere. One other makeup trend that we noticed big time, and I do think this is going to be a bit of a trend, is brown lip glosses. So we saw a lot of lip glosses coming out towards the end of the year in brown tones, and particularly like shimmery brown tones as well. So like might be like chocolatey brown gloss with like a gold glitter or something. I think this is definitely going to be happening. I think this is also, I think it's possibly just a market correction. There should have been more of these for people with deeper skin tones.
So
I just feel like it's a market correction. I think we're going to see people fleshing out their range to incorporate darker lip glosses and lip products. I also think that with the trend of the sort of darker lip liner and the lip gloss, I sort of feel like this is a really good addition for that trend. So it just makes sense that brands are going, oh, hang on, we don't have this, but we have lip glosses. Let's just bring out a darker shade. But I think anyone can wear them, which is a great thing because you can sheer them out, you can build them up. So anyone can wear them if you want a deep sort of brown and you're quite fair. It's a great autumn color, but it also means that it's just more inclusive, which is great.
Something else that was suggested in the live chat was thinner eyebrows. I think the suggestion was actually tiny brows, but when I went on a hunt for tiny brows, it's not what you think it is. It's strange. Thin eyebrows, though, I think is really where it's at. We saw thin eyebrows in the 2000s, and some of them were dramatic. But throughout the 2010s, we really saw coming back with the big natural bushy brows, sometimes
or the block
very
brows.
you were either unruly crazy brow, or you had drawn in block brows. But I think actually what people are talking about now is a bit more of a refined brow, definitely tidied up, not too big, not too skinny. We're not talking about little sliver brows, and just generally well-maintained brows. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the current climate in how a lot of people, not everyone obviously, but a lot of people are wearing their makeup. They're going a bit more pared back. We're seeing it in skincare as well and hair care. And it's just that more enhancing what you have kind of vibe.
I do agree that it's going to be sort of more natural, or you don't need to pencil in your brows or fill them in. You can sort of just wear what you want to wear. Because I do think we're pulling it back to looking more sort of natural and just enhancing your features. However, I don't think they're going to get too thin, because I feel like while there are still people in living memory that has to deal with the effects of overplucked brows, they're likely the ones that are in magazine editor roles. They're the ones that are the parents of the teenagers growing up. So I feel like there's always going to be someone going, don't do that. Look what happened to me. And I feel like until those people die out, which is not going to be for a long time, I don't think really thin brows are going to be something that you see walking down the street as a style choice. I think it's more going to be if you've got thinner, smaller brows, don't stress about blocking them out. But I also feel like there's people like us that have gone through that really block eyebrow phase as well, where people are going to be like, no, don't overdo it. So I feel like right now trends with eyebrows are going to be less extreme than they were in the past. You look back at the 1950s and 1930s, and shapes of brows are really distinct for a certain era. I don't think that's going to be quite the same now. I think it's going to be more maybe slightly different ways of doing your brows, or slightly different colors you might dye your brows. But in terms of absolutely changing them on your face, I think we can look back at history and going, okay, that's not the best decision, and I have to live with the consequences of doing that. So realistically, I'm just going to make the best of what I've got. I feel like that's going to be more the trend than let's pluck your brows so they look fashionably thin.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with Kat. I think it's more about enhancing what you have and less about shaving off the tips of your brows to create a whole new shape, unless that's literally a style choice that you make.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's not going to be mainstream. Your favorite influencers on TikTok and YouTube aren't going to be encouraging you to do that.
Yeah, like I remember in high school people talking about like, do they wax their brows? Do they tweeze their brows? Like this was like everyone did it. We were like 15 and everyone was like plucking their eyebrows. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be, I feel like while we can look back at the mistakes that like recent generations made, that's probably not going to be something so stylistically obvious in media and movies. Like, can you imagine watching a movie these days and someone having like just the line of eyebrows and all the women just having really thin eyebrows? I can't imagine it. It's actually, I don't think that's going to be the trend. Another really good and switched on suggestion was like peptides in things. I think specifically people were saying they might start seeing it in makeup. I still think we're going to start seeing it a lot in skincare. Like peptides is going to be a buzzword in, like we saw it in lip products a lot. I think peptides are going to be everywhere. But similar to when we saw things like hyaluronic acid was really popular, we started seeing that in base products really quickly. We started seeing it in like cheek products for some reason. So I feel like peptides, there is a good chance that we're going to start seeing like peptide infused foundations or like foundation serums or something. But I definitely think peptides are going to be a popular term in the makeup and beauty industry as a whole.
I agree. And I'm not really mad about that. I think like any liquid or cream base type product should have some skincare benefits. Now that I'm getting older and I'm like, I'm a bit more biased about this. I'm like, if you can't look after my skin while I'm wearing you can fuck off. Especially with how expensive things are. Like, I kind of expect it nowadays. I hope we do start seeing even more like stuff like this in makeup products. And I mean, we've talked about skincare and makeup for years in these videos, and it is a thing. It's just not every single time from every single brand, but yeah, that's not surprising.
Which, look, I think I do agree that if your skin gets along well with peptides, it's like, yeah, just chuck them in things. I am a bit hesitant to say that I'm embracing it with open arms though. Firstly, I know that, like, I know Hailey, you and I both get like sensitive skin or issues with like vitamin C.
Vitamin C.
So I would purposely avoid foundations or things that have vitamin C in them. So I know people say the same thing about niacinamide. People say the same thing about hyaluronic acid. If they're particularly sensitive or something reacts to it, like that rules out that product for them. So there will be people out there like that with peptides. But also my question is, I want to see evidence that it actually does something. Like, does it penetrate your skin on top of your like sunscreen and all your layers? Because if it doesn't, why am I spending more money for that ingredient to be in there? Is it just you've put up the price by 30% because you have that on the packaging in your marketing? So for me, I still have a very skeptical view of it. And yes, I am aging, and yes, I want good things in my skin, but is it good to have it in your makeup, or is it just as good to layer it on your skin and then have just a basic makeup product that's half the price? I don't know. I don't have the evidence, but I'd love to know. Like, you see things like brands bringing out hyaluronic acid powders. Is the powder really going to penetrate like your foundation and just like, what is it like? I don't know. For me,
no,
it's a bit questionable.
With you. You make an absolutely fantastic and valid point. Like, is the ingredient going to even do anything for your skin at that point of your routine? Does the ingredient even contain high enough quantities of the ingredient for it to be effective? Can hyaluronic acid in a powder help? I don't fucking think so. Hyaluronic acid is supposed to like help bring moisture into the skin. You know what comes to mind for me with this? And I swear I'm traumatized by this product because I've never forgotten it. That By Terry hyaluronic acid powder. that was so drying.
Yeah.
What was
Because do you know what
that?
happens though? If you're in the wrong climate, you
It
put
absorbs the
hyaluronic acid
moisture out of
powder
your
on your
skin.
face and it sucks out the moisture from your skin into the top layer. So to me,
And they
I
don't
agree.
tell you that.
I avoid hyaluronic acid in makeup and I avoid vitamin C in makeup because either it irritates me or I've seen negative consequences from it. So, that could mean that for some people it does work. But again, I think the majority of the cases, people put these ingredients in for marketing buzzwords rather than actually proving any effects. So I want them to work. I want them to be of high quality and me like wearing my foundation and going, oh, my skin is getting better by me doing this. But I don't actually have much hope that it will. But I still think brands will keep doing it.
Something else that I think we're going to see, and this again was suggested by the people in the live chat, but I have to agree with them because of the popularity of these products, more lip sleeping masks. Think Laneige. We have seen them from some other brands. In the past, Colourpop brought them out through Fourth Ray Beauty. We've seen them from BYS. We have seen them from ELF, but I think these are just going to continue to be released from other brands because Laneige, the lip sleeping mask from Laneige, has withstood the test of time for so long. I feel like it's got to be like nearly 10 years now. Maybe
It's been
not
a while.
quite.
Yeah, it's been a while, and I feel like it has, like, some people have found like they don't like it, it doesn't work for them, and they found alternatives that work better. But I think as an overnight lip mask, it is the most popular thing. I think it keeps the brand pretty much afloat. Colourpop has brought out some, I think, in recent collaborations. So I think we're just going to see more brands do it. I totally agree. I think like Burt's Bees are going to bring out. I think there's going to be so many brands that you see. It's going to be a staple now. There's going to be your lip balms. There should be more SPF lip balms. That should be something that I can't imagine too many brands doing, but they should. And then there's probably going to be like night lip masks as well. I think it's going to be a part of people's routine from now on. I think is really great. Do you know what I'd love to see, speaking of SPF, which we don't see much of it? SPF for the eye area. So many sunscreens.
Please.
So many good new sunscreen brands, especially in Australia, yet they like avoid the eye area. It's like, okay, so I burn my eyes. Thanks for that.
Listen.
So I want that to happen.
Whenever an SPF says avoid the eye area, I don't. It goes everywhere, okay? I need to protect that area of my face as well. And if the if the SPF does burn my eyes or make its way into my eyes and then burn, I use it on my body and move on to something else. I definitely think that SPF, like brands or people who are creating them, they need to get real about the realities of life. Don't tell me I can't use it around my eyes.
And then not give you something else to use, though. That's the thing that's annoying.
If it's not safe for around the eyes, like, what are you talking about? Because even if you put some sunscreens, like here in Australia, if you put some sunscreens around your face and avoid the eye area, even throughout the day, that sunscreen will merge down into your eyes just from sweating and general like heat melting the product. And you know that it's doing that when it starts to burn your eyes. So if your product isn't safe for the general eye area, that's a you problem. Your product is rubbish.
Agree. I agree. I concur. Here. All right. Next thing, which we're seeing a bit, and we've seen quite, we're going to see it more. I do agree, is shrinkflation. So there are some examples on the screen of brands that have severely reduced the size of their products over the years and kept the price the same. The most recent one that I remember is House Labs bringing back their blushes, and like, we're bringing them back, they're really popular, but they brought them back in such smaller pans. So this, I think, is going to happen more and more. You know, obviously it's economy and the this and the that and stuff that's happening, but it is also really frustrating because it means that your money isn't going as far as it used to. Now, you are probably like me and you have a graveyard of blushes and you're like, well, that's not that big a deal. But when it does come to a product that you use a lot of, it kind of sucks that you could get it a lot more. Like in looking at Milk, for example, this looks like the new blushes are like a quarter of the size. Like, make it a quarter of the cost. Come on, let's be real. But I think it's going to happen more. That's what tips
me off about it. Yeah, look, I don't mind if products are smaller. I definitely think things like foundations and powders for the face, they can't really be any smaller. Because if you're using them on a regular basis, you're probably going to go through one in 3 months anyway. Same with concealers. When it comes to things like bronzers, blushes and highlights, I think that's going to be sort of individual for the person as to how much of that type of product that you use on a daily basis. My real serious issue with this shrinkflation bullshit is that the prices, especially that House Beauty blush, which I think it's just under 50% smaller than the original. I'll see if I can find the amount for you. We'll put it on the screen. If the price is not 50% of the original price, like, no, I'm not buying it. I'm not supporting you. Same as Sephora, their eyeshadows. It's irritating.
Agree. But also, like, you know, most brands have been bringing out minis or samples or travel sizes of some of their popular products, so you can try it or you can bring it with you or whatever it happens to be. But having this forced on you, like you used to get this and now we're telling you that you need to get a lot less for the same price, is very cheeky. I almost feel like what they should do, and I know this is really hard and logistically they don't want to do this because of shelf space and whatnot and warehouse space, but they should offer a smaller version and then go, okay, our bigger ones are going up by 15% because of like the market. We understand things are going up, but I also, if someone said all of a sudden we're reducing the size of your foundation to 15 mils versus 30 mils, I'd go, get fucked. Because I will use that in 4 weeks.
A month. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess we can now go into another topic that came up in discussion. I think we are about to see the beauty industry get super expensive, and I think brands and consumers are really, really going to suffer for it. Now, we do know that it's been announced that America is going to introduce some tariffs on certain countries when it comes to importing products. So these are going to be raw ingredients and also like products that are manufactured off US shores. And we know that that is going to increase the cost of things, and it's not just going to affect America. The way I look at it, and look, I don't know everything about this. This is just my assumption based on what I do know. If something is manufactured in America and the ingredients are sourced outside of America, they're going to have to pay taxes on or tariffs on having that imported into the country, which is going to increase the end price of a product. If a company is having something manufactured outside of the country and then having it imported, they have to pay tariffs on it. Then if they are an American company that are selling that product elsewhere, it's going to affect everyone. And I think brands will try to keep their prices down by offering less product, potentially using cheaper ingredients. I don't know. This is just theories. Yeah. Because I feel like if all brands are putting their prices up by, I don't know how much the tariffs are going to be, but if they're all putting their prices up by 10% or 15% all at once, people are going to freak the fuck out.
Yeah, and the problem is, though, that even if there are some brands that are doing it, there are going to be other brands that lift it just to maintain where they
Yes.
are in the market. So what the interesting thing about and this is probably all markets, but especially the beauty industry, is that you have like luxury, you have high end, you have like the mid range, you have the makeup artist products, and then you have like the cheaper drugstore. And if, for example, you had a brand that didn't have to pay tariffs and whatnot, they don't want to then be aligned, like drop down with the cheaper drugstore because it's bad for their image. They want to maintain the level of where they are in that market. And that's why like a lot of brands will just sort of lift their prices as, you know, other brands do it as well. So I feel like we're going to see a shift. I think what it might mean, which is kind of interesting from an international point of view, is that we might start seeing people like just buying more locally. You might start seeing more local brands starting up. So I'm thinking like we're in Australia, so Australian brands. But hopefully
Not
you have
MCO Beauty.
not MCO Beauty. Like they can go away. But hopefully like there's some innovation when it comes to sort of opportunities for local brands. Unfortunately in Australia there's not many great local brands, but there might be opportunity for more of them to sort of take more of the market. But it's an interesting one, and I'll be curious to see where it sort of rolls out. Yeah, how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the outcome is ultimately going to be. I think it will be a bit turbulent for a while, but I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah, but you've got a theory. You've got a theory about a knee-jerk reaction that might
I actually
happen
do. Thank you for reminding me, because this slipped my mind. I think we are going to see more at-home DIY systems as like an on-flow effect of the constantly increasing prices of beauty products and services. So we've seen things like gel nail kits from Apres. We've seen like, is it Lashify who does those like at-home lash extension kits. We've also seen like at-home lash tinting, brow lamination, lash lifts, which I want to try myself. And I think we are going to continue to see more and more of these brands pop up, these kits pop up. Those sorts of services are super expensive, especially like if you're going to get your lashes, nails, brows done like once every 4 to 6 weeks, it adds up over the course of a year. And I think people are getting much better at doing these things at home because they still want to maintain it and feel good about themselves, but they can't afford to go to a salon. That's why I started doing my own nails. So expensive.
And there's some really good options out there anyway, so you can one with a bit of practice. And also the good thing is that like these days there's so many tutorials about how to do everything online.
Absolutely.
So with enough sort of research and a bit of practice, you can do your own lash lift, where 5 years ago that was unheard of, whereas now it's an option. I agree. I think those things will be, and I think again not just a 2025 thing, but definitely like from now on, there's going to be a lot of sort of at-home options for services for sure.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our trend predictions for 2025. We do want to say thank you to everyone in the live chat who helped contribute to that. Kat and I don't stay super on the pulse with, all of the things that are releasing. And we're certainly not, taking part in a lot of the trends. So it's good to get an idea from the community based on what they're seeing and then have a little chat about it. And I think people made really good suggestions as well.
I agree. But it was also really good to like sort of jog our memory as well. And be like, there's been a lot of that, or what do we think? And, I sort of stay on top of releases that are happening, but things like TikTok trends and style things, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, but that often is what drives these releases. Yeah, so it's really interesting to hear sort of from all different angles for sure.
Absolutely. So thank you to everyone who contributed, and thank you all for watching today. We hope you've had a gorgeous start to 2025, and we hope it's going to be a fantastic year. Fingers crossed. We will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.